I'm about to make some cordage out of Imbira bark. The Imbira is a species of tree that grows here in Brazil all over the place. It's always been used for making cordage. In fact, the raw bark itself, without modifying at all, can be used to do all kinds of lashings. First, you got to strip the bark. So what I like to do is just take off a section at a time, lever it up, and then pull. Now you pull the wood away from the bark. Don't pull the bark away from the wood. That way it will strip all the way down to its inner layer. As you can see, the inner bark of Imbira is very strong and supple, and you have all kinds of material for making cordage with Imbira bark. You want to prepare all of your materials first, because once you get going making cordage, the last thing you want to do is stop and have to fiddle with your wood again and make more bark. Again, you have the supple side, the part you want to stay long, and then the stiff side. You pull the stiff side away from the supple side, and that way it won't run away into nothing. And you get nice long pieces of bark. Now these also have several layers. Once you get through the top layer, once you get the whole thing off, these can be split into other layers as well. And that's about the thickness right there that you would want for making cord. Don't worry if you get a piece that's too small or that runs away into nothing, because you'll need these later to add in when one side of the cordage is lacking in material. You add these small pieces in, you can make use of them as well. This is a nice piece here. That's about the size you'd want for making cordage. As you can see here, we've got a lot of materials now, and we're ready to start making cordage. Now, when you start off your cordage, you don't want to start your first piece in the middle. You don't want it doubled in half. You want it doubled about 2/3 and 1/3. Because you want both sides of one side of the cordage to run out before the other. That way you can splice in more material and your splice won't be in the same place. So now what you want to do is just start twisting, getting it tighter and tighter and tighter until all of a sudden it will double over, just like your phone cord when you get too much phone cord. And that'll twist. You make that a little bit tighter. Now you want to start it with your hand facing down, your palm facing down. You're going to grab the first ply, and you're going to twist it clockwise, pinch with your middle finger, turn your hand upside down, palm facing upwards, and twist another ply, and then roll the two together. It's twist, pinch, twist, roll, and you're making cordage. Twist, pinch, twist, roll. You start with your hand facing down, grab the ply that's nearest to you, twist it clockwise, pinch it under your middle finger. With your hand upside down, you grab the other with your index finger and your thumb, twist it clockwise, and then roll the two plies together counterclockwise. In order to remember the direction that you have to roll the three different sides of it, picture them as logs. Each log is rolling away from you. On all three sides, you're rolling away. If the top of the log is here, it's rolling away. Okay, if you notice the top of this cord, the top of this ply is rolling away from me. The top of this ply is rolling away from me, and the top of the two together is also rolling away from me. So it's always rolling away, away, and away. And once you get the rhythm down, you can make cordage very fast. You want to keep your plies consistent, your twist, the tension is consistent, and also the thickness of the material consistent. Already this one is running out too thin, so I'm going to have to take another piece pretty soon and splice that on. This one still has quite a ways to go, but you can feel in your fingers that the material is getting thinner. The thinner the material gets, the weaker the cordage will be. You want it to be a uniform thickness, and the only way you can do that is to keep both sides of your plies at a uniform thickness the entire time and a uniform tension. Now we're ready to splice in another piece onto it. All you do is you take your extra material and you lay it alongside the short ply, the one that's run out of material. Just lay it alongside so it sticks out about maybe a half an inch, and then just roll the two together and continue making cordage. As soon as you roll it, as soon as you twist the two together, it's captured. It's not going anywhere. And all you got to do is continue to make cordage beyond that splice, and that new material is captured in there and is just as strong as the original piece. And of course your thickness will be a little bit thicker inside the splice where the two materials are running together. So what I try and do is put a thinner piece, the thinner end of the material that I'm splicing in with that, so that you don't get a thick spot or a lump in your cordage. Now that I'm at the end of the splice, don't worry if a piece sticks out. You're going to go back with a pocket knife or the scissor on your Swiss Army knife, and you're going to trim all that stuff off anyway at the end. So it doesn't make any difference if you have pieces sticking out of your cordage. I'm getting ready to make another splice here. The ends of your cordage have to be able to run free and twist. I got a kink in that one there. You don't want to have a kink in your material. Okay, getting ready to make another splice. Here I've got a thick end and a thin end. I'll put the thin end, lay it alongside the short material. Twist, pinch, twist, and roll. That's a little bit thin. I'm going to add another piece in there. We get a double splice. It doesn't matter if you have material sticking out. You just keep adding material and keeping it consistent as you can. One thing you don't want to do a lot of is twisting and letting go, twisting and letting go. Then you lose all your tension. It should just be one even twist, a pinch, another even twist, and a roll. Okay, so this morning we've made about 15 feet of two-ply cordage out of Imbira bark. It's rough right now. We're going to have to trim that. We also have about double that amount of material, which is from one stick of Imbira we've got enough bark to make about 30 feet of cordage, which is plenty for our purposes today. My next step is to trim off all these splices which are sticking out of the cord. They can catch on things if you're using it as a snare, or they just make the cord look ugly. You can use an ordinary pocket knife, something cutting in, to trim these off. For those of you who are interested in such things, the knife I'm using is a Zebu folder from Brazil. You just go along and snap off all these different little splices, which have something to cut against, like a stick. Just feel along the cord until you come to a splice, and then carefully trim it off. You don't want to cut your cord in half, trimming off your splices. It's also very useful to, if you have a Swiss Army knife along, just use the scissor on the Swiss Army knife. It makes the job a lot easier. I've also used toenail clippers, fingernail clippers, anything really that'll cut the cordage or cut the bark you can use to trim off all the little splices. And you wind up with a cord which is very good looking and won't snag on things